Hello? Well, good evening, everyone. How are you doing on this beautiful Friday afternoon? Yes. Are you feeling good? Yes. We are feeling so good because you know why? Because I think that most of you are awake and aware, right? Yes, yes, yes. That is what we are here for. We're here to learn more, educate ourselves more, and help us be a part of the solution. We've got a lot of problems out there, but you know what? I'm here to tell you about solutions and about the good life and about how we are truly making a difference. So with that being said, for those of you that do not know me, I've met a few of my Facebook buddies in here. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. And for those of you that do not know me, my name is Organic Guru Lynette Doll, and I'll explain the whole emblem in just a moment. But I am one of you. I'm a health freedom activist. I am a person that got angry and upset, just like you did. I just took a few steps farther and just went out of my rabid mind because the food made me that way. I wasn't eating the blue pill, but I was eating the toxic stuff. So anyway, Organic Guru Lynette Doll, I have been on this mission for about 8 years now. I'll tell you a couple of stories. First of all, I'll apologize in the beginning. If my voice goes out, I'll be drinking a lot, not vodka or anything, my fresh greens. But I just got back from New York, Connecticut, and New Jersey on a 6-week tour, speaking every single week, and just came to Missouri and drove up here 10 hours. So my voice is a little bit out. So if I need a little break, hope you'll understand. But I'll make the best of it while I can. But what I do is I have not been in a virtual physical home since April of 2011. I've been on the road speaking out for every single one of you. Yes, we're all doing our own part. We're all doing everything that we can do. I just decided to, get out and educate the masses out there on the other side of the fence as to what is going on, because we can't change things if we don't let them know. This is all great, and I'm so thankful that you all are here. This is amazing because it shows that, yes, we can. Yes, we can make a difference. And because you all are here, together we stand, and we can conquer all, but separately we will surely fall. So the point is I've been on the road for 2 years on a bicycle, going from state to state, town to town, country to country, just to enlighten the people. And the reason why I started is because I got mad, like I said, about 8 years ago. I am, as you all are, the Monsanto Experiment. We all are. We've all been experimented on for years and years. But what a lot of people do not realize, how many of you realize or know how long we have been experimented on? I mean, obviously for a very long time, but as far as Monsanto, Roundup, and genetically modified organisms are concerned, how many know how long that we have actually been in the test market? All right, does somebody want to say how long? 96. Anybody else? Early 40s? Okay, that is absolutely right. We were actually hardcore tested upon 1964. Everybody thinks that in 1994, 1996 is when the first genetically modified organism came into existence. Yeah, that's what they wanted us to think because they hide it so very well. Yes, they do. The fact of the matter is, we've been experimented on. They started doing a lot of test marketing and test runs because Monsanto has been in existence since 1901. You all are familiar with Agent Orange. We all know about that. We all know about Roundup. And now we're knowing about the genetically modified organisms. In 1964 is when the very first genetically modified experiment started taking place. Yep, 1964, not 1994. In the early 1970s, 1971 to be exact, Monsanto introduces Roundup to America. Northeast Arkansas. Anybody here from Arkansas? No. I grew up. Kathy, this is my teammates over here, Kathy and Jill, and I'll introduce them in just a moment. I grew up in Northeast Arkansas. Are any of you familiar with what happened in India and Vandana Shiva and what her mission is about? Yes. Okay, so some of you are familiar. I won't go into all those details. Google Vandana Shiva. Google what happened in India, where 320,000, not 320, but 320,000 farmers over a period of 4 to 5 years committed suicide. Was not a cop-out. Yes, 320,000, you heard me right. 1,000, yes. It was not a cop-out, and I don't want to take up too much time because that's a different story, but I say that to make a point as to what happened in Arkansas. But this happened in India in the 2000s. So you fast forward about 40 years. Well, we've got more powerful Roundup. We've got more powerful genetically modified organisms because they perfected it now. So the farmers in India committed suicide because there was no other way out. Yes, you might say there's a way out, but farmers in India, that's their livelihood, that's everything. They were lied to by Monsanto. Their lands were stripped barren. Their cattle was dying. Their sheep were dying because they didn't eat the stuff. Their crops were not producing. And on that dotted line, Mr. Farmer said to Mr. Monsanto, in the event that I can't pay you back, sure, you can have all of my house and my land and everything that I own. So Monsanto was taken away one by one. Hence, they didn't produce, couldn't pay Monsanto back, so they started committing suicide. But Google that, and then you'll understand what happened in the 1970s. No, we did not commit suicide here in America. But in 1970s, yes, I was born in 1970. That makes me 43, which 40s are the new 20s. And if you live an organic lifestyle, you only get younger. You can actually reverse your biological clock. I've done it. And there's more about that in my book. So anyway, in the early 1970s, no, I didn't know anything because I was just born. But at age 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you know, we all ride the tractors and everything with our grandparents. That's what I did. I mean, I grew up on the farm, so I was very well educated in the farmlands, and I was out there plowing the fields with my grandparents, picking the cotton, weeding the soybeans and all that because it was fun. But anyway, the point is, no, I didn't know a whole lot, but I knew enough because I heard my grandparents talking about the new things that were about to happen, right? The newer and better and faster ways that we can feed the world. Yeah, well, my grandparents were just wonderful. Everybody, you know, all grandparents are wonderful. They're great. I'm a Gigi. I'm a wonderful Gigi. I have 4 grandchildren, by the way. 3 grown kids. 3 grown kids. Anyway, I remember my grandparents talking about Monsanto. My grandparents were way involved with Monsanto, as a lot of farmers are. But they thought, just like the people in India, and they thought like a lot of people are misled, that they were in it for the right reasons. You could never tell that my grandparents had any money because they didn't flaunt it. They didn't do it for the money. As a matter of fact, my grandmother was one of the first pioneers in America that introduced the salad bars to the public school system. She was a manager of Hoxie High School, and that was her passion. All she worried about was feeding the children. Everybody has the right to good, wholesome food. Everybody needs salads and veggies and all of this. Well, when Mr. Monsanto came around knocking on the doors, telling them how much easier it's going to be, we've all heard the same story, so I won't bore you with that, but you get the picture. Monsanto came to my grandparents and all the farmers in Northeast Arkansas, how easy it is to feed the world, how wonderful you are going to have all of your stress relieved, and you can do this and you can do that. We've got this wonderful Roundup that's going to keep the weeds away. My grandparents were like, oh, give me 5,000 acres of it. I don't want just 1 pound. I want it all. You know, this is going to be fun. This is going to be great. So that all started. Now remember, this was back in the 1970s. So no, I'm not going to say anybody committed suicide because this was when they were just test marketing. You know, we're the test. We're the scientist experiment. So they were test marketing the grounds in Northeast Arkansas because we're country bumpkins and didn't know any better. You know, we're the easiest people to be lied to because we love everybody and we trust everybody and we leave our doors unlocked. So, you know, that was what better way to eat you with, my pretties, than go on those virgin soils. So, you know, they wanted to take it all. And they introduced the Roundup, and this was, you know, very minor uses of Roundup back then. Well, now then, you know, you fast forward 40 years, and you've heard of the super weeds, the super bugs, and all of that. So we've had to create larger amounts of Roundup, more powerful, more potent Roundup, more potent chemicals. So, you know, we've evolved over all of these years. Well, then also early in the 70s, in 1974, 75, 76, they test marketed the first genetically modified organism. By the way, does everybody know exactly what a genetically modified organism is? No. Okay, for those of you that do not know what that is, genetically modified organisms, and I go all across the country and I know that, and I try to, help people to understand that they don't know what it is, so they think it's a very good thing because the Food and Death Administration said it was okay, right? So of course they're going to buy it all. Well, a genetically modified organism, it sounds really good because they're altering the plant so we can grow so much more, we can have an abundance of crops, and we've all heard the story. It sounds great, it sounds wonderful. We can feed the world, which as you and I know, quite the opposite is true. Anyway, what they do with the genetically modified organism is exactly what it is, genetically modified. That means you're modifying something. That means you're modifying an organ, the gene, the atom, the whatever. You're modifying it. Anything modified just can't really be that good. But Bt barium that is naturally in the Earth's planet, in the soils, Bt barium in and of itself is a good thing. If you leave it alone, it, the way nature has it, it automatically helps to remedy some weeds and some bugs. And if you do crop rotation, the Bt barium is very good and it's very strong and it helps us to remedy all of our problems with our crops naturally. But what the mad scientists do in the scientist lab is they eject that Bt barium from the soil because they know it's a good, great combating thing. And they actually take the gene of the seed and they splice it and dice it about 4 or 6 times. So that's the gene of the seed, not the seed, not the plant, but the actual gene that makes up our DNA. So they slice it and dice it about 6 times. And then they take the Bt barium and inject it into there with their mad concoctions of Roundup, herbicides, different chemicals. And they're injecting it back into the gene of the seed, therefore making it a genetic alteration because they're injecting growth hormones, which is, Miracle Grow, if that's basically the way I can explain it to you, but it's, growth hormones too for a plant, if you will. And so that way the plant can grow twice as big and twice as small amount of time. It can grow this big in a matter of 3 months as opposed to this big in a matter of 6 months. So that's the whole idea of it. And then of course they're injecting the Roundup, they're injecting all the different herbicides to make your seeds Roundup ready. Okay, what kind of sense that made in the first place? Because now they've got, super bugs and super weeds that they have to have more powerful Roundup. But what they've done is they injected it into the gene of the seed. So it's altered the genetic makeup, right? So the seed grows much larger, much faster. But you've genetically altered the gene of it. So you tell me, how can that in any way be nutritious? How can it actually save any of our nutrition to the plant? It cannot. The thing about the misuse and the lie of this is that yes, you can create 1,000 acres in this amount of time. You can create all of this food, this much food in this amount of time. You can do this big a salmon in this little of months. Yeah, it's all bigger, it's faster because we're a fast-paced nation and we want it fast and we want it now. Well, that's the whole idea. But we're eating empty calories. We're eating empty nutrients. That salmon may be that big and it can feed 20 people as opposed to 10 people, but it feeds them for 30 minutes. It doesn't keep going because you're not getting nutrition to the brain, which is the second part of my speech, fuel for the body. So, the whole thing is a big farce. It looks good. The food looks great. That doesn't have any blemishes on it. Well, that's not how nature intended it. Some bugs are really good. Actually, you need a little bit of protein here and there. So a few bugs aren't going to hurt you at all. And that, they just don't want you to know that. And they want to get rid of all the bugs, all the weeds, and make everything really pretty. Paint you a pretty picture. So that's how they reel you in. Throw the hook, line, and sinker out there and welcome to my parlor, said the spider to the fly, is what they do. And so that's very understandable why everybody is believing this. I mean, everywhere you turn around, are you not hearing it? But they're feeding the world. We can't survive without these genetically modified organisms. We can't do this. That's what you hear, right? Quite the opposite is true, and we all can go into that a little bit later. Okay, so you get the gist of what a genetically modified organism is. Okay, so in 1974 and 1975 and 1976 is when they did introduce the first soybean to Northeast Arkansas. That was indeed genetically modified. Look it up. It's a factual statement. You have to dig really deep for it. But it's there. And I know this because my grandparents were so excited. Yes, I was only 6, 7, and 8 at the time. Yep, I was. But it was great. It was the best thing since sliced bread. Again, give me 5,000 acres of that because we want it all. We want to feed everybody. My grandparents were just into feeding the nation, feeding the world. That they did. They fed us all. We ate it like it was popcorn, going out of style. Ate our soybeans, ate our corn, ate all of the Roundup, had our own gardens. You name it, we had it. And that's what we ate. Didn't take real long. You know, some people are like, well, I'm not affected by it yet, Lynette. Okay, that's fine. Honey, how many prescription drugs are you on? You know, there's 3% of the population that can breeze through life. They can eat McDonald's, they can eat GMOs, they can do whatever the heck they want. For whatever reason, they have super genes. Don't know why, but there's 3% of the population that can do whatever they want. Never a prescription drug, never a doctor visit, never overweight, never sick, blah, blah. Okay, that leaves 97% of the rest of the population that's pretty fat, sick, and nearly dead. You know, I mean, that's just the cold, hard facts. And it's like most of us are in that 97%. I was in that 97% real fast. It can catch up with you at age 1, at age birth, at age 88 years old. Eventually, something that's not natural is going to catch up with you, is going to be what was not intended to be. At the ripe old age of 8 years old, I was having a few kidney complications anyway from 1976, 1977. In 1978, my kidneys completely started failing. So yes, at 8 years old, I encountered my first kidney surgery. It's a dumb surgery that they don't even do anymore. On top of that, you know, we're dealing with our Western medicine world. So anyway, I had my kidney surgery at 8 years old. Oh, she was just born with a kidney defect. You know, nobody knew anything about this because surely to goodness it wasn't anything that we ate. That was the last thing that would ever pop into anybody's mind in the 70s. I was just born with a kidney defect. Okay, fine, I'll deal with it. And then I had complications every single year after that. I was in and out of the hospital on different medications, on water pills, on fluid pills, you name it. I mean, my legs were always so super big. I never had ankles, and I'm super excited. I actually have ankles, and you can see my ankles, but don't look real close because they're really ugly because they have all these spider veins because they always blew out so big. But we just attribute it because I was a gymnast and I was a cheerleader. Oh, I just always have big ankles, you know. Then 8 years ago, I'll explain what happened whenever I saw my ankle for the first time. So anyway, I had surgery at age 8. Nobody knew. Okay, then we fast forwarded a few more years. In 1985, lost my grandfather, age 57. Yeah, heart disease. Fast forwarded about 15 more years. Lost my grandmother, ovarian cancer. Way too early. She was 62 years old. No, she wasn't. I'm sorry. She was 66. My bad. So I lost her from ovarian cancer. And then everybody in that area, everybody was having strokes. They were getting sick, but they're just sick over here. We don't know. It's just time for them to die. It's time for them to get sick, you know. 50, 60, early 70s, that's pretty old age, huh? You know, whatever. No, it's not. I have my best friend. He just turned 90 in September of last year, and his wife just turned 78. They live in Springfield, Missouri, so they get around better than I do sometimes. So, you know, no, it's not old at all. But we didn't know this. Anyway, I'm still having all these complications year after year for 30 years. I'm in and out of the hospital. I'm passing out. I'm going back and forth to the emergency room, having to be carried in. Nobody believed that I had kidney surgery because I'm too young, right? That's what they told me. Okay, so we're dealing with my kidney issues. So we're going to reverse the clock just a little bit. In 1989, I had my first son. I was 19 when he was born. And he was born, well, we didn't know at the time, we didn't know until he was 18 months old of the disease that he had. He was born with a disease called respiratory papillomatosis, also known as the human papillomavirus. How many of you were in Liam Sheff's seminar today? Okay, so you heard him touch base a little bit on the human papillomavirus. Newsflash, I just told you my son, he's a boy. Number 2, he was born with this disease, so obviously it wasn't cervical cancer. It was not sexually transmitted as well. All viruses, by the way, can be sexually transmitted. Anything. A virus can be transmitted different kinds of ways. There's no rhyme or reason. There's no rules as to how the virus is going to attack you. It doesn't know what the rules are. It's going to attack you however. The point is, it was the human papillomavirus, which is another lie that Liam touched on today, that, you know, the world, they want you to think. I'm not making light of this disease that nearly killed my son, not because it turned to cancer, but because it nearly strangled him. And as a matter of fact, more children die from this disease than heart-related or HIV virus. Why? Because they strangle in their sleep. Most children die before they reach the age of 4 because sudden infant death syndrome. They haven't quite figured that out yet. Well, there's been a lot of cases to this. Look it up, human papillomavirus. And there's information on the sheets that Kathy and Jill passed out, fuelforthebody.org. You'll read my full bio. You can read the story. You can read the doctor's things. So anyway, 18 months old, we understand that my son has this disease. But we still didn't know what disease it was. He just had polyps on his vocal cords. So we're going in and out of the hospitals, remedying him, getting his vocal cords cut on, getting these things surgically removed. Didn't know exactly what it come from, other than it's viral, and he got it from me. They don't know why, or he got it, you know, contracted somehow, but they didn't know it was from me. I'm like, okay, whatever. Well, 27 surgeries later, yes, 27, 7 different surgeons in Memphis, Tennessee, of the best hospitals, Le Bonheur, St. Jude, and University of Tennessee that we went to, because I didn't stop at the first opinion. But back then, this was in the early 90s, we didn't have the internet prevalent like we do today, and the cell phones and all that good stuff, so I was reliant on my footwork, going to the library and listening to different doctors. That's all I knew. I didn't know anything about Chinese medicine or holistic medicine, but I always knew there was something about, we don't need all these vaccines. That's kind of crazy. So I stopped the vaccines for my children because I thought, this is crazy. And I never took my children to the doctor for every ear, nose, and throat sniffle that they have, because I was like, okay, I breastfed, they're pretty healthy, and we'll get over it. And they did. But I couldn't figure out how to get over my son's illness and how to get these things gone. I didn't know. The only thing I knew was surgically have them removed, like they told me. So 27 surgeries later, they're cutting on his vocal cords. He lost his voice. He couldn't do anything. His dream was to be a swimmer, and he tried to swim. He did sports, but he couldn't do it because his lungs would not hold the air. So we was always pulling him out of the pool and just letting him swim at his own risk and doing what he could do. So it was the first time he nearly died, he was about 10 years old, and that was because he was strangling. Yes, he didn't die or had the almost near-death experience before 4. I don't know why, other than it was a very slow aggression, and we always had him in the hospital removing those polyps that strangle you and cut off your air passage. So he didn't die then, and he was 10 years old because another doctor put him on some stupid medication that was against my will, but I was a mom and I didn't know what I was talking about. He said Prevacid, which made these things go haywire. Then the second time, he was actually nearly almost 15 years old. I'm like, what the heck is going on? This is crazy. He's in there banging his head on the wall. He was asleep. He couldn't breathe. He couldn't do anything. And these things, they just grow. They just get so mucus-filled. That's what happened. So we're rushing him in. I'm ranting and raving. I'm going out of my mind. I'm like, this is insane. My son's almost 15 years old. He's almost dying again. And by this time, 15 years later, I'm like, there's got to be something else. You all are at least keeping him alive. There's some kind of cause to this. This makes no sense. If you're smart enough to keep my son alive and keep him remedied, then there's got to be a cause to this problem. We must find it. At the same time, I'm still having all my kidney complications. We're just a sick family. We're all messed up. That's just how we're born, That's just how it is. So I've learned to deal with it. So at that very day is when the doctor came back out and gave me more than 2 minutes of his time. And he introduced me to a doctor that was in Denver, Colorado, and said, well, Ms. Pate, we have been in touch with this other doctor, but we didn't tell you about him 5 years ago. Yeah, 5 years ago, they were in touch with this doctor because we deemed him as a quack. We've all heard that. I'm like, you know what? I appreciate that. You're trying to look out for my best interest, but apparently you all aren't getting to the bottom of this, and there's 7 of you, 3 different hospitals, and I'm going to keep going until I get the answer that I want. If there's a certain way, a certain chance that he might have to survive, because he was able to cure a few people in Switzerland. Dr. Pashley was from Switzerland. I said, I don't want him. So on Monday, I got a hold of this doctor on the phone, spent an hour and 20 minutes on the phone with him. Who does that? No doctor does that. He basically diagnosed my son over the phone. 2 weeks later, we were on a plane out there, headed to Denver, Colorado. Again, he spent another 2.5 hours individually, well, an hour with me, an hour with my husband, right there in the hospital. Now, we did spend another 1.5 years in Denver to have my son treated, and to have holistic procedures done. They were more surgical procedures, but it was in a holistic manner. But all of that to say, this doctor is what opened my eyes to the whole world that you all are living in right now. And that's when I became so crazy and mad. Whenever he was able to tell me why my son had this disease, how he contracted it, and how I could cure my kidney ailments. An ear, nose, and throat doctor could tell me this. I'm like, okay, whatever. But at least, just cure my son. Because, when any child has a disease, anybody, you go through the parent's history, right? So that's how I knew about my kidney ailments. So we're going through all of this. So he's telling me about his disease, how he contracted the disease, why I had my kidney failures, because we have to know the parent's history, where we grew up, what we eat, what we do, all of our history, lifestyle. So this doctor was very knowledgeable in everything. He asked me where I grew up, asked me what I ate. Whenever he opened his mouth next, what came out of there completely changed my whole life. He said, well, I'm going to tell you something. It's not your fault, but you gave your son the disease that he has. A lot of people say, you didn't give your son his disease, Lynette. I didn't take it like that. I was very devastated. I thought, wow, that's pretty powerful. I gave my son his disease. How the heck does that happen? Then when he kept explaining it to me, he said, this is why. You've told me about your kidney ailments. You told me about what you eat. You eat all the healthy stuff. You eat the apple, the corn, the soybean. You eat all that good stuff. Yes, I do. So what's the problem? How in the world could I give him this disease? You ate the poison food. You ate the poison apple. What are you talking about? My grandparents would never do anything like that. What do you think Roundup is, Lynette? What do you think genetically modified organisms? He was very well familiar with that. What do you think all of these poisons are? He said, sure, you're eating that apple, those soybeans, that corn, all of this, but you're eating all of the toxins. You're eating everything that is destroying your whole livelihood. And if you look around in the nation, in the world, 9 times out of 10, not every single one, but if it's a viral disease, the firstborn is the one who gets the disease. Why? Because it's viral. They are the ones that contract all of the mother's toxins from the body. It leaves no room for the second and third. I have 2 more children, I have 2 more daughters, and they perfectly healthy. I have one that is actually bipolar from the toxic food, and that's a different story. You can read that on my bio because that happened later in life because of the sugars that they want to dope all of the children up on. But anyway, the firstborn is the one who contracts, who gets the disease most of the time, and there leaves no room. So anybody that's diseased, it's usually the firstborn. So I tell you that because that's whenever he told me I gave my son his disease. You are what you eat, right? We've all heard that. That's when he said, your children are what you have eaten too. That's how I was able to give my son this disease. Wow, I was in my 20s at the time. What? Are you kidding me? Really? That was a pretty tough pill to swallow. I gave my son this disease. I am what I eat, my son was. And that's when he started explaining to me all of those poisons that I just told you about. And that's when, and I'm sorry, I've been traveling so much, I usually bring my demonstration, but everybody's like, well, Lynette, we can just wash it all off. We wash our apples, we wash our beans, we do this. That's great. You take a shower too, don't you? How many of you are on prescription drugs? Or know people that are on prescription drugs? Not many. Very good. Good for you. Well, I say that because you take showers, don't you? Your friends take showers, all those people that are on prescription drugs, well, why can't they just wash that disease or wash that ailment off or whatever's bothering them? You can't. Unless you actually take the gene of the seed and you dissect it and you dig it all out, then maybe you might have a clean food item to eat, but that's not going to happen. So we can't just wash it off. Our skin is our largest organ, and whenever you put something on your skin, it goes into your system. That's why you can't wash it off. The gene of the seed has been injected with poisons and chemicals and has been genetically altered. You cannot wash off a genetically altered gene. I mean, you can't wash it out. You can't change it. It's already been genetically altered. You can't wash out the poisons. Wow, what a wake-up call that was. And this was 8 years ago. And I just thought, this is insane. There is no way that I have been living this lie. There's no way I'm going to continue living this lie. And so 1.5 years later, my son, disease-free, surgery-free, alive and thriving, He actually almost qualified for the Junior Olympics to go on to swim. That was his passion. He was able to swim again. He didn't go on to the Junior Olympics because he had a calling to be a chef, so he's a top chef in Vernon, New Jersey. He actually just moved back to Missouri on his way to France, and he was studied under one of the top chefs in France for 6 months. So there's a happy ending. He is a very healthy boy to this day. The disease has not come back. Why? Because we completely changed our diets. We got every last thing out of our home, from toiletries to cosmetics to cleaning items to the food in the first place. It was all poisonous food, everything. And let me just tell you this right now, and we're going to go on about the logo that's coming out. Just because it says it's non-genetically modified and because it says it's non-GMO, let me explain something to you. I'm all about the crusade, get Monsanto out. But what you have to understand is Monsanto controls everything almost, from the poisonous to Agent Orange to the growth hormone in the cows, to the genetically modified salmon, to the everything, all these poisons. So you can't just say, oh, I'm GMO free. Yeah, well, how's that working out for you? You're still eating the Roundup. It's still polluted. It can still be polluted with Roundup. The only way we can get away from all of the toxins is be 100% organic. And I'll explain to you how you can do that in a very inexpensive way. It's very possible. But I will ask you one question. What is your health worth to you? Can you honestly put a price tag on your health? No. No amount of money can. I nearly lost my son twice. I'll be darned if I'm going to do it again. No, not going to happen. So I turned my life upside down, turned my family's life upside down, changed everything. Remedied my kidneys. Whenever he told me I could actually eat real salt, and we can learn about that in my book later, but actually real salt as opposed to this white poison salt that I needed for my kidneys to have minerals being flushed through my bodies. And he told me to avoid all the toxins, all of the processed foods, and I could actually reverse my kidney ailments. You must be out of your mind. You're not a kidney doctor, and I've been dealing with this for, 25, 30 years. It's not going to happen. Oh, yes, it did happen. Like I just told you, I have ankles. I don't have cankles anymore. Yay! Because I was able to get a handle on it. I have one of the best kidney doctors in the world right now, literally. She's in Connecticut, and she treats patients all over the world. So, yes, I do stay under the care of a kidney doctor just to keep me off of dialysis, just to keep my kidneys running and functioning. Now, I will tell you, I do get depleted a lot because I'm on a bicycle and I'm doing all kinds of events all over the place. And if I don't take care of my body, I take care of it with good food, but if I don't take care of it with, hydration or non-rest or stuff like that, then there's a chance that they're going to go down again, and they do, but I can remedy it very easy with toxic-free food that they don't want you to know. It's like, oh my goodness, this is how we're all experimented on. It goes much farther than the genetically modified organism. It's all about the toxins in our food supply, the toxins in our water, the fluoride, the everything, all of the prescription drugs being flushed down the toilet, all of the people, our own local farmers are using Roundup. You get it at Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart, wherever. Roundup is everywhere. Roundup is a poison. Roundup is not your friend, which I'm speaking to the choir pretty much in here. Yes, sir? Oh, Roundup. Okay, Roundup is a weed killer. Is a poisonous, harmful weed killer that gets rid of the weeds. It salvages the plant because it's the way the gene of the plant is, it's already succumbed to that. So it actually kills the weeds, but it doesn't bother the plant itself. So it gets rid of the weeds, gets rid of all of the bugs, it gets rid of all the living organisms which destroy our planet. So that's what Roundup is, and it's just something that you spray in your own gardens, and it kills everything. So that's what Roundup is, and we need to steer clear of that. So that's what people don't understand, that there are so many toxins out there. So we can eliminate all of this. It's actually very easy, but it's also very hard whenever our neighbors and our friends and everybody is using all of this. That is why it is so important for all of us, not just me, Kathy, Jill, Sean, all of us. We all need to go out and educate, educate, educate. I don't care how much they don't want to hear it, how much they don't like it. We still need to let them know what's going on in our world and how it is destroying our planet. Because if I can reverse my kidney ailments, I'm alive and healthy, I'm not on dialysis, I have ankles now. I'm not, just killing over. My son's alive and thriving and disease-free, surgery-free for 8 years. We can reverse all of that with food. He had some help, of course, with this doctor with, good holistic measures that he took to cure my son. But if we can do this with food, what does that tell you? Their products are destroying our livelihood. It's destroying everything. It is making us fat, sick, and nearly dead. It's making us wacko. Wacko, totally insane. I mean, you see everything that's going on in this world. It's all of the sugars. It's all of the prescription drugs that we may not be taking. But if you're drinking the water, it's in the water, unless you have a good, fluoride filter or different filters and stuff. So I encourage each one of you to, make sure you look into a good water filter. Make sure you get all of those, at least prescription drugs out. So Monsanto has been experimenting on each and every one of us. I just took the brunt of the deal at a very early age because of where I grew up in Northeast Arkansas. And now you look at Northeast Arkansas, the highest stroke rate in America and lung cancer. They're all dying. My dad suffered a series of 5 strokes in 3 years. I can't get him out of Arkansas to save his life. He just still stays over there. We were able to remedy him with good, wholesome foods, and he saw how it was working. He saw how the Celtic sea salt, he just won't leave. He's just stubborn, whatever. But the point is, they're all dying. Look up Northeast Arkansas, Jonesboro, Hoxie, Walnut Ridge, Tuckerman, all those little bitty corner state cities over there. Look it up. They're all dying. They're disease infested. They're sick, and they can't figure it out. They cannot figure it out. They love Monsanto. I went to try to do a seminar in Jonesboro, Arkansas. They would not let me. Literally, what one lady said is that, well, we love your mission, Lynette. We love your passion and everything that you're doing. You do realize that we make our money on Monsanto farming. And I said, well, you do realize that I grew up on Monsanto farming, and you are killing me with your Monsanto farming. I nearly died. My son nearly died. So I don't want to hear that. But my point is, they don't get it. They don't understand that this is making them sick. And unless we can show them time after time and show them different experiments, they're not going to get it. I mean, they're just over there just, living it up, but they're living it down because they're dying. And it's very, very sad at very early ages. So it's not just about the genetically modified organisms. It's about Monsanto. It's about our government. Oh, I forgot to pass this out. You all can see me afterwards. I have about 10 minutes. If you can go ahead and get started if you want to sign up on my email list, put your email on there, and we will keep you posted on our tours. So I'm going to wrap this up. I tend to linger on, and then I'm going to open it up for questions and answers. I have about 10 minutes. But what we are doing now, this is the Organic Guru recommended logo. Yes, we created that. And you see all these logos all over the place? Those are fine. Those are great. Yes, there are some that are better than the others. This one is going to be the superb because you know what? It's time for a change. Do you think it's time for a huge change? We're all making the change. But do you want to know what you are eating? We try to know, and you all do because you're here. But honestly, people are hiding behind that genetically modified organism label, the non-GMO project. They're hiding behind it. They're hiding behind different facades. And even the United States Department of Agriculture logo is a farce. You can get away with it with 50% organic ingredients, 70% organic ingredients. What does that leave for the other 50 and 20% of it? You taint the whole bunch of apples. You can't ride the fence. You cannot ride the fence. And everybody again says, so expensive, Lynette, I can't eat like you. Yes, you can. Your health is worth more than anything. Let your food be your medicine. Let your medicine be thy food. Hippocrates, we all knew that. But let your food be your health insurance. Oh my goodness. Let your food be your healing testimony. So this is a logo that is created with love. It is going to be me and my team, Jill and Kathy, going all over the nation, which I go across the nation on a bicycle. We do bicycle tours that I've been on the road literally since April of 2011 because I got so flippin' mad. My kids are grown and gone, so I can do that. I don't have any little ones at the house. I go see my grandkids every now and then and get my baby fixed, but then I off you go, little ones, off you go. It's good. Not having kids is my second life. No, I'm kidding. I love them. They're great. Anyway, the point is we go across the nation to educate the schools, educate the high schools, educate different people to let them know what's going on. Now then we're taking it a step farther. I have different people that do help to sponsor the tour, but we are going into each one of these companies. If it takes me 5 years or 10 years, we're going into each one of these companies. We're going to scrutinize them. I've already caught 5 companies in the past 6 months that are a total farce. and you would be surprised. And I am so mad right now because it's just like, oh my goodness, we can't take it anymore. Food should not be rocket science. What we're doing should not be rocket science. We should all be in this together, and you all are. But if we can just get these companies to get all the toxins out, to get them to just make good food so we're not sick and we're not spazzing out all over the place. Oh my goodness. This is a logo that will insist on them having pure intentions. Like my friend, Fresh Greens, they are a pure intention company. Tuning Element, these companies I've already tested out. These are companies that are pure intentions, made with love, made with wholesome ingredients. Not one single thing is going to harm you. It may not have the USDA organic logo on there because what does that mean these days anyway? Poison, thank you. You know, United States Death Administration, like the Food and Death Administration. It's like, what are they doing together? Anyway, food and drugs, whatever. We all know that is a farce. So this is going to be, and I want you all to help us with this. Sign up on the email list. We go across the nation. Our next tour, and that's where we got the America's Outstanding Mom thing. It's not a big thing for show and tell. This is not because I'm more special than anybody else. Everybody's asked me, what is the banner for? What is this? And this is the new doll that's about to come out. So I want you all to help me. Sean with Tuning Element, they are helped me get this doll out of Taiwan. This is a fun thing that we're going to do. I told you I was here to shed light and have fun and wonderful things for you. Okay? This is how we're going to make a difference in the world. America's Outstanding Mom gave me another platform to step up on the plate and reach that audience that would have never heard our message. I'm not a pageant girl. I'm a hippie gypsy. I wear this is bamboo clothes. I wear bamboo. I am a total, earthy person. But I saw an opportunity. I did not compromise my integrity, my morals. All of my attire on this pageant was totally bamboo, hemp, soy, and recycled cotton. It's what my clothing and Necco Bella makeup. So I didn't compromise. The point was we need to let everybody know what's going on. And I said, you know what? I want that audience right there. I reached that audience. And they were scratching their heads saying, oh my goodness, what in the world did this lady just do on top of the stage? So it was awesome. It was great. I was able to reach that. So I won Florida's Outstanding Mom. Then I went on to compete for America's Outstanding Mom. And I came in first runner-up because I said a really stupid thing on stage. I don't know, I got stage fright. Imagine that, but I did. So I was selected, though. Nonetheless, I was selected as the overall ambassador for America's Outstanding Mom forever and always because they wanted me to represent them and moms across the nation because moms, we have power. We are the ones that make most of the decisions for our health and our food and our children. So we need to all band together. What this doll is, we are going to get her marketed across the nation. This is the Lynette Doll in her bicycle attire. Yeah, she's got a crown and sash on just to make it fun and blingy for the little girl. Sally wants the doll, right? Mommy buys Sally the doll because she looks so cute. She looks really bad right now. She's been on all my tours with me. But anyway, she's going to look a lot better. We'll clean her up. And it has all these sponsors on it. She comes in a very nice case. Inside this case is going to be information on genetically modified organisms, information on organic and sustainable living, information on different companies that are true, pure companies, because that side of the world doesn't know. They don't know what a GMO is, just like I'm talking in here. This is going to be an avenue of information to the world, the first ever in the nation, in the world, the health icon of the century, the Lynette Doll, is going to be marketed. So sign up on our email list. Help support our tours. And if you go on, everybody write it down. It's in one of my brochures that I handed out, fuelforthebody.org. You'll see us, our next venture. And I'm going to let Jill and Kathy, this is something fun. All of these products up here, I've got about 1 minute. And if you all want to have question and answer, what is going to happen is, I don't know if I have enough for everybody, I'm sorry, but anybody that wants to taste, these are raw, living, fresh chocolate balls. There is hope. There is joy. We can eat. We can be merry. We can be happy. We can eat whatever the heck we want. And we don't have to gain weight. We don't have to be sick. We don't have to have autistic children. People think we just eat Brussels sprouts, and cardboard. No, we eat real food. I'm drinking my Fresh Greens just because it keeps me hydrated and going. These are real chocolate balls. High in magnesium, high in iron, high in potassium. Wonderful antioxidants, and for all of you lovebirds out there, great aphrodisiac, I will have to say so. So you want to eat raw cacao chocolate balls. So Kathy's going to take around a little sample just to let you all have fun, and then take one of these, and you all can get a sample. Take one and pass it around. You can get a sample of what these wonderful fresh greens are all about. The first company ever to be non-irradiated, raw, living greens. So take those. We're at booth 226. And if you have any questions, I'll be in here for a little bit because the panel is up next in another room. So I tend to ramble on. Yes, ma'am? Yes, yes. They do. Let me explain about the non-GMO report. The lady just asked me, what about the official logo that is on different companies? I just uncovered one company in particular, and I will call them out because I called them myself. It's called Hudson Mills. Hudson Mills is a company that has 10 grains. 10 grains, okay? They have 2 of those grains that are really organic. The other 8 are not organic. They spray the heck out of them with Roundup and everything else. Out of those 2 grains, guess what? One of those grains are non-genetically modified. So they hide behind the facade of the non-GMO project label because they have one grain that is non-genetically modified. So the whole world thinks, oh, because I found this out through a bread maker. They make their grains. They're a grain company, Hudson Mills. They're a grain company in Illinois, actually here in Illinois. They do put it on that certain grain, but it doesn't matter. The whole company uses that. Oh, yeah, we're non-GMO verified, and I think I'm out of time. But anyway, I will be at Fresh Greens. I have lots more to share, so thank you so much for coming in.